Welcome to the Bill Levinson Experience, a motivational podcast relating to the insurance brokerage industry and business in general. And now, here's Bill Levinson.
Okay, welcome everyone back to the Bill Levinson Experience podcast. I hope everyone walks away with some great nuggets of information from today's call. Of course, as always, make sure you take down some notes if you want to record this. Whatever the case is, I just want to make sure that everyone benefits from today's call. So real quick, I just want to introduce Emmanuel Mankowitz from Doctors Benefits, who's joining us on the call today. So Emmanuel, you want to say hello to everyone?
Hey everybody, nice to be here today, and looking forward to sharing some helpful tips and tricks to get you guys to the next level.
Good stuff, Emmanuel. And thanks for taking the time. We really appreciate it. I think this is so important to me and to our audience. If you're in the insurance industry, great. If you're not and you're in any kind of sales position, I think that this will bring a lot of value to you, no matter what career that you're in or what your path is. He's got some great wisdom over the years. He's got some great, like he said, tips and tricks that everybody can learn from, including myself. And let me just take a minute to share our story and how I met Emmanuel and how we came to this point today, bringing this podcast to you all. So, we have 16,000 plus agents across the country, as you know, and they range from ages literally 17 to 84, 85, okay, even. And this is a very old school industry, okay? Most agents came from that career or captive type of mindset, and then they went off into the independent world, and then they came to us either by word of mouth referral or they saw one of our marketing ads or videos or podcasts even. And, why Emmanuel is a little different, in my opinion, than most of our agents out there, even agents in the industry, even if they have nothing to do with us, is, he came and grew up in this kind of old school industry, but he put a different spin on it, okay? And he combined all of the latest technology and tools and tricks, into this old school life insurance world, if you will. And so he said, hey, I love, the products and I love helping families and, I love coming up with these solutions, but how can I modernize this sales system with, selling through webinars and phone calls and, using a website, social media? How can I maximize all of these great tools, but obviously still have the focus on selling life insurance and helping families? And he's done exactly that. Okay, and I'm gonna one of the questions actually is I want him to give you his take on why social media is so important, why driving traffic to his website is so important, but I think that's where he really stands apart. And I've talked to several hundreds and hundreds of agents across the country, and they know a little bit about Emmanuel and his story, and they all say, hey, I'd love to pick his brain. Can you introduce me? And I want to find out how he does it, right? And obviously that's unrealistic. I mean, I can't give out his number to 16,000 people, but if he can jump on our podcast to share his stories and strategies, that would be a win-win in my opinion, and that's why we are doing this today. So mainly we really want to say thank you to Emmanuel for taking his time out of his busy schedule. Also, real quick, he's in his low 30s, okay, but not new to the industry. He qualified for the MDRT years ago when he was on the career side, and this is the most important part. 99% of his sales, okay, are done either online and or on the phone. He doesn't leave his home office. So that to me is mind-boggling. And we're not talking about, $20, $30 a month term or final expense cases. We're talking about $5, $10, $20, $30, $50,000 of target premium of IUL cases, okay, and all of the above. So, when you hear that, and I hear the stories of agents still, driving door to door, business to business, from Starbucks to McDonald's, and, getting the door slammed in their face. And then I hear Emmanuel come into the office and talk about how he just landed a $22,000 IUL sale over a 30-minute phone call. I said, you know what? You got to share this with our agents because this is freaking awesome. So in a short time, he grew to one of our top agencies across the country, and his mindset, just, on life in general and business and this life insurance industry, which is known to be very old school, is awesome. And that's what I wanted him to talk about today. He came from one of our competitors, okay? And, we spoke about the way he does things and how we can help him. So like I said, in a very short time, he grew to one of our very top agencies. And, here we are today, fast forward, and very, very proud of what he has accomplished with his partner, Brian, and his team at Doctors Benefits. They also have agents under them as well, where he teaches the same, tricks and shares the same strategies with. So he's built a great team. And I want to jump in with the first question. And let's start from day one, Emmanuel, and, how it all began for you, growing up and your education, how you came to the insurance world, your first career adventure. Do you want to take us back to day one?
Yeah. Sure, absolutely. Well, grew up here in South Florida pretty much my whole life. And, when it came to, what was the next step after high school, didn't really know what I wanted to do. And so I, asked my parents. They said, oh, you should become a doctor. And funny enough, I didn't end up having the passion for it, but I did go molecular biology, pre-med, and turns out, 10 plus years later, now I only work with mostly physicians, and most of them are saying I made the right choice. So, but yeah, I ended up switching into a marketing major in undergrad, and then ended up, going to get my MBA here in South Florida at the Wayne Heising School of Business. And this was all, at the MBA level right in 2008, post-apocalyptic, recession, depression, whatever you want to call it. And at that point, they said, okay, you can either do a thesis or you can go get an internship to complete the program. And I figured, well, it's, everything's down the tubes at this point. I better focus on an internship. Hopefully I can get a job. And it was at that point that I got introduced to the insurance industry. My wife had a great idea. She said, hey, get your suit on, get your resume, just go into the tallest buildings you can find here in South Florida and just start, popping into these buildings and giving your resume out. And I actually ended up working with one of the larger career insurance agency shops, did a 6-month internship with them and saw the potential. I saw guys in there that have been doing it for 20, 30 years, making $500 million a year, and they didn't seem like they had anything really supernatural about them or any special abilities. So I figured, hey, if they can do it, I can do it. And then, fast forward, 10 years later, just taking everything I've learned, especially like you said, it's an old model, it's an old business and industry. And I think a lot of agents are being told that they really need to focus on, building everything through centers of influence and working with CPAs and attorneys and property and casualty firms. And it's a relationship business and it does still have that component to it. But, I took a different spin. While everyone else was telling me I should go to networking events and I should go, build relationship with CPAs over 5, 10, 15 years and hopefully get some of their clients, I decided I was just going to take the insurance products to the market. And that's what, we've done over the past 10 years is focusing on asking people, if they're interested in life insurance. Are they interested in disability? Very straightforward, direct and to the point, as opposed to what I was taught in the very beginning was, oh, just call people up and tell them, oh, I'd love to get together with you and show you the scope of the work that I do. And then people would ask, well, what do you do? And then you'd say, oh, well, I'll tell you when we get together at lunch. Don't worry about it. And then, smoke and mirror and try and trick them into meeting with you to try and sell them insurance. So we do things very different and just being direct to the point, doing as much outbound effort and prospecting. And believe it or not, there are millions of people that want to buy insurance. It's on their to-do list. I can't tell you how many times we've talked to somebody and they said, I can't believe you called me. I have a Post-it note on my computer that says, buy life insurance. Yes, I'll buy a policy from you. So, and that's not a unique experience. It happens all the time. And I think, a lot of agents would see a lot of value in just keeping to the basics, telling people what you do and not trying to sugarcoat it and make it into something, that it's not. So, just some insight, there.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So when you started off, let's say on the career side, your first 6 months, I'm sure it wasn't easy in the beginning. I'm sure you got some pushback. I'm sure you thought about going down another avenue at times, maybe a different career path. That was
sure.
The case, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my first 6 months in the internship, I didn't make one sale. I don't even think I made my first sale till I was 8 or 9 months into the business. And, I finally placed the policy, I'm going to get paid. And then 2 weeks later, I get a replacement notice that the client's the policy is going to get replaced. So at this point, it's doom and gloom. This isn't working out. Friends, family, everyone I knew was basically, saying that this is a scam. This, you're not making any money. Oh, Emmanuel, he works all day from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., but he doesn't actually get paid anything. And so, all the odds were against me. But the saving grace to this was I saw the guys that were making the $500, the $700, the $1 million a year, and once again, it's there. It's published numbers. You could see that it was real, and so I just kept the blinders on. But yeah, I mean, I think for new, and not just new agents, but just agents in general that are in their first couple of years in the business, I think it's important to have a good circle of positive influence and people that are going to support them, but in the right fashion. So what I mean by that is, making sure that your friends, your family members, they have a good understanding of the business, because that was one thing that was lacking in my end. Like I knew the guys and I saw them making all the money, but my friends, my family, my wife, they were like, well, this just seems to be a scam. You're working every single day. You're not making any money. So, you're not very good at this apparently. So, but I think if I would have brought the friends and the family in and been able to introduce them to these people and make sure they know the process and know that, hey, it could take 6 months before you really get going. It could take a year or 2 years. I mean, my first year in the business, I think I made maybe $19,000. And this is with, undergraduate degree, MBA under my belt. And, I just felt like a complete failure. But luckily, I did surround myself with people that said, hey, Emmanuel, you're doing all the right things. You're making hundreds of cold calls. You're going to meet with people, so I just, stuck with it. And thank God I trusted those people to guide me. But yeah, very, very difficult in the beginning. I should not have made it in the business. I mean, even my managers were telling everybody, oh, he's not going to make it. It's just, keeping the blinders on and pushing forward.
So what was it that you think really kept your foot on the gas and said, you know what, I am going to make it, and I see these guys around me making 500, 700, 800 a year, and what was the light at the end of the tunnel that kept you so focused? Like you're hearing from family and friends and even your wife at times that, Emmanuel, maybe this isn't for you, and are you wasting your time? Was it just being around some of those guys that kept you going?
Yeah, I think earlier on in the business, so I teamed up with a couple senior advisors that they had already been in the business 10, 20, some even 30 years, and doing work with them and spending time with them every day, just being there, asking them questions and asking for their help. I think, really surrounding myself with that type of influence was really what kept me in it. And then partially, I think it was like, well, if these guys are making $500,000 plus a year, I don't want to go do something else and get a real job. I'll just keep doing this and hopefully it really pans out. And once again, I had everyone in my ear saying, "You're doing everything right. Just keep with it. You're gonna make it." But back to something you asked before is, I think it's great to have people telling you're doing a good job and you're great and you're going to keep going with it. But that's only assuming you're putting in the right effort. If you have friends and family just telling you, yeah, keep doing it, you're amazing, but you're making 5 calls a day and you see one person a week to try and sell them something, that's not good either. So it needs to be a right balance of positive influence combined with a ton of effort. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. It's like some of these people go to work and from 9 to 7 at night, and they truly worked about an hour or two out of the day, and they say, "Oh, I'm putting in 50 hours a week, and I'm crushing it, and this and that," and only you know the real story. And if you're not truly putting in the sweat and the hard work, then you're really doing yourself a disservice. So that's exactly right. And it also goes to what I always say with your circle. You show me your 5 friends, and I'll show you what direction you're heading in. And it's so true. You got to surround yourself around the right people, or you're going to go backwards. So that is so true. Okay, so as far as where you are today with your career, obviously you've built a great business. You also market and focus on doctors' benefits, just like your name says, which I love that niche. That opens lots of doors. I'm gonna tell you too a quick funny story without getting off track here. Is my fiance is a PA in the medical field, and I was on my way to one of our breakfast seminars that we do for agents. And, I'm getting ready in the morning. I'm in the bathroom, and she comes running out of the other bathroom, and she says, "Hey, Bill, I just got an email, and it's about a disability policy that's, focused on just PAs, and this looks great, and I'm thinking about signing up and calling them. What do you think about this?" And I was like, "Well, let me check it out. I never heard of this. I never heard of this kind of marketing plan or policy." And so I'm looking at the email blast she got, and I said, "Wait a minute. This is Doctor's Benefits. This is one of our agents." So anyway, long story short, I saw Emmanuel the next day. I was like, "Wow, you guys are crushing it. You're doing some great marketing. I love what your plan and direction is." And so, that leads me to the question. So where you are today with your career, and then, where do you want to see your career go? Let's say, 5, 10, 15 years out, what direction do you want to head in?
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, we specialize in working with physicians and other, people in the medical community, PAs, dentists, veterinarians, things like that. So, I mean, we're in a very, focused mode right now. I would call it just massive client acquisition mode. And what I mean by that is we're focusing, like I mentioned earlier, on satisfying a specific need. Finding people that are interested in talking to somebody about life insurance, disability, long-term care, just different products, very product specific. So, our goal, and we seem to, be consistent with it, is to bring on somewhere between 100 and 200 new physician clients every single year. And it is transactional, getting them a life insurance, getting them into disability, and then going back after the fact and asking them if they need help on something else. So the plan is to just stay on the course. Obviously, we're always looking to, build our team and look for ways to add more value to our clients, bringing additional products to the table, but, just taking it one day at a time. And I can't even imagine or fathom where we'll be in 5 or 10 years from now, because we already have thousands of clients at this point. So it would just be great to have 5, 10, 15,000 clients to be able to have an asset on the books and be able to continue to work with those people and grow as they grow as well. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And by the way, I want to just back up for a second. I don't want, any of the listeners on the call, if you just started in the business or you've been in our business for a while, or maybe you're not even related to our business, which is also fine. But I want everyone to understand that Emmanuel is very well educated with an MBA, qualified for MDRT. That is all great, and yes, it works well, especially with these higher net worth clients. But if you have literally a high school education, okay, and you can put in the effort and have what it takes and have the mentorship and are willing to make sacrifices and have the discipline, you can also make it in the industry just like Emmanuel. So that's one thing that's neat about the insurance space is, yes, if you have the MBA and you're a CLU, CHFC, all of that stuff is great and it will only help you down the road. But even if you don't, if you're fresh out of school and you get a license and you start working with the right people, there is no limit to what you can accomplish in this industry. Sure. And I think you can attest to that, Emmanuel.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, I don't want to create the illusion that, I've just been working with doctors for 10 years straight, and that happened from the very beginning. It wasn't an overnight success. I started working with the public service sector, with school board type employees, governmental employees, just focusing on, certain types of policies for them. But I think the key is niching out into something. So I became the guru at working with teachers. Then it was like, all right, well, what's the next, what can I get into next? What's the next level from here? And for me, it was attorneys. I just picked up the phone, teamed up with a guy in the office. And, I think that's important for any agent on the call, regardless of what market they're in, is to find someone that you can be in the trenches with every single day. I made friends with a guy in the office. His name was Matt, and we just sat there every single day and focused on making calls together. He'd make a call, I'd make a call, just back and forth, and we'd go run the appointments separately. But still, it was like somebody to be there, accountability, just kind of work together. But the point is to find a niche and become an expert in that niche, because then you end up having the same conversation with 1,000 different people, but it's the same lingo, the same language, versus what a lot of agents do. They're just trying to find somebody that can, like fog a mirror, if you've heard that expression before, and they're working with everybody, but now they're having 1,000 different conversations. Everyone's so different and all over the place, they really can't find a rhythm and specialize in something. So, it doesn't matter the niche. You can do unbelievably well from everything from teachers to plumbers to doctors, attorneys, anything. I mean, you just focus on that and build it out, and then you could build a brand around that. It could be plumber's benefits. It really doesn't matter what it is. You'd be the guru, and everyone in that space would use you. So
yeah, that's a great point. You find your niche and you freaking run with it. You be an expert in that area. You start marketing and branding yourself as Plumbers Insurance USA. You start buying lists of all plumbers. You make your social media accounts, your website, everything is called Plumbers Insurance USA, and you're known to all the plumbers out there. You're the man.
Yeah, I mean, and that comes back to why what you guys do at Levinson and Associates is just, crucial to that point, is because the only way you're going to be able to build out that brand and focus on the niche is by leveraging all the technology and the tools that you guys offer with the CRM system, the email blast capabilities, the prospecting. I mean, all that stuff is huge. So if anyone on the call is not taking advantage of that, I mean, that's a no-brainer, especially if you want to, get to the next level. Got to leverage the technology, and a lot of the stuff is free. It doesn't even cost anything. So it's important.
I know. When I hear some of these stories from our agents, who are, yes, they're doing a great job and they have their book of business and they get great referrals but I always tell them, like, if you're still doing things the old school way, yes, it works, yes, it's great for now, but little by little you're going to go downhill and you're going to go backwards. And the reason why is because what happens, and it's just the natural flow, your clients, right, they're going to get older and they have their children and grandchildren. Well, in the 80s, they would just refer you, or, word of mouth was everything in the yellow pages, and, you would have your client and their families forever. But nowadays, what happens is your clients' children and their grandchildren, they're all on social media now. They're all online. They're all on YouTube. Okay, and yes, you might say, hey, call Bill Levinson. He's my agent for years. He's the best around. They're going to say, I'm calling Bill Smith because he's known on Instagram as the insurance guru. Everybody goes to Bill. He's got great YouTube videos. Well, guess what? You just lost your client's son or daughter or grandchildren because they want to work with and they trust their Instagram or Facebook buddy. So my point is, okay, I'm not saying sit there on social media all day, but if you can be the old school sales guy or girl that's working their book and doing a great job, fine, but have all the social media tools in your website running in the background, now you're making it on both sides, and you're only going to grow from there. So what Emmanuel said is so important. Take advantage and leverage these tools. It's crucial to growing in today's world. Okay,
Sure.
So moving forward, Emmanuel, and everybody has some good field stories, either insurance sales related or maybe, growing up in the business or, any stories you want to share with the audience?
Yeah. I mean, the one kind of situation client that stands out the most to me, and this comes down to, making sure you're, they was talk about working on the business and working in the business. And so you got to take time to further learn and get educated and go to these conferences that are offered and go and learn new strategies. But, one in particular that stands out to me is, I went on I think it was like a Friday afternoon to go learn from some, 20, 30-year-old in the business veteran. He was going to talk about some new strategies. I went to the thing. I jot down some notes, on a practically a napkin. It was a small pad. And then the very next day, I took that information and just repeated it almost verbatim. He was reading off of my piece of paper and asked 3 simple questions. And that ended up resulting in a $200,000 plus year premium, annual premium into a life insurance policy. And it just blew my mind that I didn't necessarily 100% know all the intricacies of the strategy and what was being presented, but it was just asking 3 simple questions. So it really opened my eyes to, it's more about knowing which questions to ask and evoking the emotions from the client and get them to say, yeah, what's the solution? What are you recommending in that situation? But that's just one case that kind of stands out as far as, kind of blew my mind. And that was done over the phone, a $200,000 a year annual premium over the phone. So
that's what's
kind of nuts.
What's crazy to me is, you think that, selling over the phone or these, only these small final expense or mortgage protection, term or whole life policies, but Emmanuel gets these home runs, these big deals over the phone. He gets people comfortable enough to share, let's say information for an e-application or drop ticket and their account information. And that's mind-blowing to me. That's amazing. Emmanuel, I think it, yeah, I'm sorry.
Just going to say, I think, like you mentioned earlier, the world is changing. It, used to be everybody wanted face-to-face, and it was all the relationships and the referrals, like you said, multi-generational referrals, and that still exists. But I think with how much information is out on the internet and the books and everything, clients are more educated than ever before. And a lot of people don't want to meet face to face. I mean, our entire business with Doctors Benefits is built around, that's our selling point. We're not going to take up 3 meetings times an hour each and all this time and wasting these people are busy. They want to just get a need taken care of. And I think that plays more into, because there is so much information out there on the internet, people, agents need to focus on providing products that clients can't sell to themselves. A client can go on and open up an E-Trade account. They can go to Scottrade and open up a mutual fund brokerage account. They can't sell themselves a life insurance or a disability policy. So that's why we focus on those products, because we can provide those and clients want them, but they don't necessarily want a 3-hour meeting over the kitchen table anymore. So, I just got tired of driving, 45 minutes down to Miami just for somebody to say, let me think about it. We can do that over the phone. Okay, think about it. I didn't drive down there. So it's just a different model.
Great. And let's say out of 100 policies that you sell and deliver, how many of those are face-to-face compared to over the phone, roughly?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
what's the percentage?
Probably 1 or 2%, if I had to throw a number out there, just because, the only clients I'm meeting with face-to-face are the ones I had from when I started, 8, 9, 10
Unreal.
years ago. Anyone new is completely virtual.
Unbelievable. That's mind-blowing. And most of our agents, it's just the opposite. I would say 80-90% of their business is done face-to-face. So, I mean, just think about that for a minute. It's unreal. And again, that's why the first thing when selling over the phone or online, the first thing these people are going to do is they want to know who they're talking to. They're going to look you up on Google, and that's when you have to make sure that your website is up to date and relevant, and you have social media pages, and you have some followers and likes and friends on there. So very, very important. That's your business card and storefront nowadays in 2019. Okay, so
I think,
very important.
A lot of agents think that they're going to post stuff on social media and Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff, and that's going to result in business off of doing that. And that's just not how it really works. The reason we do those things is for the reason you just said, is, hey, if a doctor or a PA or whatever, goes online, they're going to see, oh, these guys are legit. They're on Instagram, they're on Facebook, they're posting content. So it doesn't necessarily result in a sale because of the post, but it validates that we are a real company and we're going to be able to help them and be ethical. So I think the agents need to just keep that in mind, that yes, they should be posting stuff, but there's a long game. It's posting stuff over a period of time, building the content, and just making yourself relevant out there. But don't rely on it to produce business for yourself, social media wise, anyways.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, we have a lot of agents think that they're going to open their social media accounts and new sales are going to come streaming in. And no, it doesn't work like that. Yes, you have to have it. You have to be consistent with posting, but it is the long play. And it might validate a sale that you make next week. Okay, and I'll tell you this right now, 100% between email marketing, social media posting, putting your videos out on YouTube, the long play, it's going to build and change your business. And the reason why I know that is because that's exactly how Levinson and Associates was created, built, and that's exactly why we have grown to the place we are today. We went literally, when I started, we had about 200 agents that Kerry was mainly heading up the agency here in South Florida, to 16,000 and change today in every city in the U.S., and it's because of that. Okay, yes, word of mouth, referrals. Yes, you have to have a great reputation and everything that goes along with it. But that email marketing, CRM mindset, posting on social media, videos, that's probably 60 to 70% of our growth right there. So it works. Okay, so we're going to move quickly. I know we're running just a little behind. We're going to move to the advice column, okay? Just a couple things. I have 3 bullets here that I want to ask Emmanuel. First one, if he has any career advice that would help our listeners, stay focused and disciplined, if it's could be, maybe church or temple or motivational seminars or podcasts, whatever it is. Do you have any suggestions for our audience?
Yeah, sure. I think like you said, motivational wise, I follow all the main guys that I feel like are very successful, positive, and then bring, ideas to the table, like Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, several people, and the idea is, to take the good out of all these types of people. They all have negatives to them, and eventually it does sound repetitive saying the same things, but just pull the good things out of there and use that every single day, because like you said, you want to surround yourself and make sure your circle is going to bring you up. But in some people's situation, they may not have anyone around them that can be a positive influence. So they might have to be alone, but rely on these people that are just posting all their content on YouTube and Facebook to kind of get them through the situation. But as far as other advice, like I mentioned earlier, find someone that's in the business that you can be in the trenches with every single day, whether that's making calls to set appointments, going on appointments together, talking about the business together. That's how, Brian and I have had such a great relationship over the past 10 years. Talk every single day, talking about cases, making calls, and, if the sale doesn't go right or just falls apart, we're there as a support system and just like, all right, on to the next one, versus if you're a lone wolf out there by yourself with no one to really be in support, it could end up being a roller coaster ride with really high highs and, really low lows, and it can be, very difficult. But yeah, that would be, my advice, and as far as, staying motivated and disciplined.
That's great. That's great. I know for me, literally every morning I listen to my podcasts and, different recordings of webinars and meetings. And, I try to keep this in my head day in and day out because, at times it's tough. It's very repetitive and, we're doing the same thing day in and day out.
Sure.
And I feel like it's a grind. And you got to find that something that keeps you on the right track. For me, it's, the gym, working out, my motivational influence. I have to stay focused every single day. So, I think that's a great, what I love what you said is, you listen to all these motivational guys and, you get real into it. But after a while, it's like the same message over and over. So you take your little bits and pieces of what you liked, right? And then you move on to the next guy or girl and do the same thing over and over. And this way you're really getting the best of both worlds. So I like that message. Okay, the next one, yes, this sounds great, and everything's wonderful, and we're all making money, but let's all be honest here. There are times and there are days that are tough. Life happens. We have roadblocks and obstacles, and this goes for any business or career. What do? You have one of those tough days, or one of those moments that you feel like oh my God, am I really doing the right thing here? Or whatever the case is. What kind of advice would you give to our listeners on getting through the roadblocks or the tough decisions? Is there anything that you like to do or refer to?
Yeah, like you mentioned, you go to the gym and that kind of keeps you stay focused. But I think for me, I go swim. I go 5 a.m. And so even if there's a bad day, it's kind of like helps that I already kind of did that from 5 to 6:30 and really just I already won, for the day. If that's all I did for the day, I felt accomplished. So I forget who talked about I think it's an Army general or an admiral talks about making his bed in the morning. And because at the end of the day, even if everything was a complete failure, he comes home to the made bed. and it was a victory. So I think, having some type of ritual in the morning, whatever it is, meditation, yoga, the gym, working out, that's important. But as far as like handling the tough roadblocks and things like that, I think it's important to not, if something's like really bad or whatever it is, for me, it's best just to shut the day off, because you don't want to bring that into your appointments, into your calls. Everybody's going to sense it. It's like a dog can smell fear, and, it's just best to maybe take the day off if you can, obviously. But, for me, I don't know what you want to call it, but I feel like I'm a master compartmentalizer in that, one area of my life could be just potentially falling apart, but I try not to let it poison the rest of the things, and I focus on the things that I can control. Because at the end of the day, in life, especially in this business, we can't control any of the outcomes. We can only control our efforts. As far as in the business, you can't control how many people are going to say yes and buy something, but you can't control how many calls you make, how many emails you send, how many posts you do, and then as far as with life. Can't control, bad things that happen, but you have a choice on how you, are going to react to the situation. You can, let it destroy you, or try and find something positive, or just, like I said, compartmentalize, which is not an easy thing to do, but, that would be my advice on that.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And everybody is a little different, right? I mean, we all have, could be a walk in the morning, or yoga, or, maybe a religious ceremony, whatever the case is. But I do suggest you find that something. We all need that. We have to hit that reset button from time to time. I like this one, and I ask this on most of our episodes here. And it's funny because Emmanuel's a younger guy. He's in his low 30s, but he's been in the business a while, lots of life experience, and he's crushing it, as we all know. So this question is pretty good. Any tips, advice that you would tell the younger Emmanuel, let's say from 15, 20 years ago? Is there anything you would have done different? Any advice you would have told yourself back then?
Sure. I mean, yeah, I guess I'd be a teenager at that point in time. So, that's a really, really tough one. I really couldn't say anything I'd tell the teenager self of mine, because I was, just focusing on being a competitive swimmer and, going to church and being with the family and everything. So, I mean, I could answer that question as far as what I'd tell the 10-year ago Emmanuel, brand new in the business. Would that be more helpful?
Let's do it. Perfect. That's even better.
Yeah, I mean, as far as, like I mentioned earlier, teaming up with people, but I think the number one thing that I would tell myself to get into even sooner than I did was doing joint work, but doing joint work with the right people. So when I was brand new, I was doing joint work with other brand new agents that were only, 3 months into the business, 6 months into the business, and it was like the blind leading the blind, and it just was a complete, utter disaster. No business got written, and neither of us learned anything because neither of us knew anything. So, it was just mistakes after mistake. So, I was fortunate enough within my first year in the business, I teamed up with multiple, 20-year veteran agents, to bring on appointments with me, because I learned that getting 50% of a $50,000 whole life premium or a $1 million annuity was a lot better than getting 100% of absolutely nothing. So, doing joint work, in my opinion, is the number one way to learn new strategies, how to position products, just become better in general. And I just feel like, including myself, in the beginning, I didn't want to share the case. I was afraid that I would lose the deal or whatever it was, and it just turned out to just be something in my head that, these people always made bigger cases for me. I mean, even to this day, even though I do write, $100,000, $200,000, and $300,000, life insurance premiums and annuities, I still take advantage of joint work, splitting cases with advisors that have more experience than me, because I think it's important. We need to know ourselves and know our clients' personalities and realize, maybe I'm not the best person for this. maybe there's a personality difference or just a way that we do things differently. I should bring XYZ person on this to help me with it. And it's also fun. I mean, it's a lot more fun to work with somebody on something, and it also takes the pressure off me. I mean, like when I bring an advisor in to help me on something, I have no pressure. It's all on him. If he either makes the sale or he doesn't. And if he doesn't, hey, I probably wasn't going to make the sale either. So that'd be my number one, tip. Number
great.
two, in this industry, I think, we tend to do a lot of the, $10 and $20 an hour work ourselves. And it took me almost 5 or 6 years to realize I was doing $10 and $20 an hour work when my time was worth closer to $500 an hour. So, I love the saying, keep it small, keep it all, which I encourage in the beginning because agents should learn, every aspect of the business, how to do applications, how to all that stuff. But when the $10 and $20 an hour work is keeping you from $500 an hour money-making activities, at that point, you got to outsource. I mean, Brian and I, we outsource as much as we can. I don't touch applications. I don't touch paperwork, delivery requirements, none of that. All that's handled by the staff. Prospecting, I mean, everything's automated. We've got our assistants. We've got the people making calls. So, the agents should be focused on what they are going to do best, and that's closing cases and, just bringing on new clients. So, I mean, those would be the number two things. I wish I would have known from the very beginning, and hopefully, it'll fast track some other people's, success.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and that goes back to what we were saying about your circle, and surround yourself with people at your level or even higher, because you're going to start to act and think and talk like them. So that's exactly right. I love that. What we're going to do, and this is, in my opinion, one of the most important questions here, because the way you do things is very different than most agents out there in the field. And it obviously it works. It works very well for you. And I think that a lot of agents are scratching their head saying, how and why do I need to start thinking like this? And, how can I switch gears and change my mindset? So very important question. Emmanuel, why do you think social media, let's say your website, e-blasting and CRM tools, why are they so important to an agent in our industry? What's your take on that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it's all about efficiency, because I used to, and like most people, you spend half the day driving all over the place, sitting in traffic. I mean, how many physical people could you possibly see in one day? I mean, best case scenario, maybe you could see 5 appointments, maybe 6 or 7 if you're willing to work late at night, going out to people's houses. It's just very limiting on how many people you can go see, and how many of those people are going to say, let me think about it, and not move forward. So for my opinion, all the technology and the prospecting tools that are available, if you can do it over the phone and do things more digitally, it doesn't have to be completely virtual. You could potentially, maybe have the first call or the first conversation over the phone, and then you can go see them to move forward and take applications and, do whatever you need to do. But I think it's just like you said, that it's a younger generation. More people are on the internet. They're looking for products. They're looking for solutions, and they're just waiting for somebody to call them. They're waiting for somebody to shoot them a message. And, Brian and I were talking the other day is, from the beginning, 10 years ago, every single person we met, whether they were interested in insurance or retirement planning or whatever it was, we made sure to get their cell phone number and to make sure we got their email address. And that's what we've done, is, building the database, and every agent should be doing the same thing. It doesn't even matter what the person does, what their occupation, what they were interested in. You make sure you get their email address, because it's not that threatening. Hey, let me shoot you an email. I'll send you some information on what we do, and keep you abreast of different topics and changing world financially. And then every agent should be sending either biweekly or monthly email newsletters to their prospects, to their clients, because people's lives change. Maybe somebody had a birthday, a child, a grandkid, they got married, they bought a house, and you sent them an email about life insurance, about disability, about retirement planning, and building that database over time will absolutely bring in revenue. It's just a matter of time and the right timing. And, I did an Instagram post the other day about life insurance and how, everybody makes excuses why they can't get it. And I talked about how they can now get up to, I think, $2-3 million of life insurance with no medical exam. And within 10 minutes of that post, someone that I'd been emailing regularly shot me a message and said, "Hey, you do life insurance?" They didn't even know I did life insurance. And I said, "Yeah, absolutely, I can help you." So I think just keeping up with the times and, eventually everyone's going to be, on those platforms. And I think just staying in front of the prospects is going to be the key because they want the products. It's just a matter of who's going to be in front of them the most with the name recognition and all, everything that comes with that. So.
Yeah, no, it's so important. I'll give you another quick example, and this just happened yesterday. So one of our bigger agents here locally was quoting, I guess, a friend of his, and he thought he didn't rely on us for support, and he thought he had the answers. And one of his friends is a cigar smoker, and he ran, the best preferred tobacco class that he could find. And, the premium was whatever, $140 a month on a term case, and everything was fine. And sure enough, a couple weeks into underwriting, the friend comes back to him and says, "Bob, I didn't realize that I can actually get a non-smoker plus class and still be a cigar smoker. And, why didn't you tell me this, Bob? You're my friend, supposedly." And it turns out Bob didn't know about this, didn't ask us, but the friend found this on social media. It was an advertisement for cigar smokers with example premiums at a non-smoker plus health class. So, shame on Bob for not calling us and relying on our service. But here, another agent got their self on social media, put up a creative ad, and he drove traffic, comments, questions to his post. And Bob almost lost a sale and a friend. So, there you go. You got to be out there. It's like having great real estate on University Drive. If your sign's not up on University Drive, people are going to drive right by you. So very, very important. Okay, and another thing too, Emmanuel just mentioned this, but I remember collecting email addresses since I started, and that to me became more important than phone numbers. And I think back at people out nowadays, like at networking events or meetings or restaurants, clubs, bars, lounges, whatever. You think about it, people now like in their 20s and 30s and 40s and even 50s, it's not even about, you meet someone, it's not about, hey, do you have a card on you? No one even carries business cards anymore. They say, hey, you know what? You just look me up. I'm under Billy Levinson on Instagram, or, just pull up my website or shoot me an email. Here you go. Here's my email. Put it in your phone.
Sure.
It's
I know a lot of
world.
Agents in my circle, they don't even carry around business cards anymore because the reality is, give them a business card, they're never going to call you. Let's just face it. However, if you don't carry around cards with you, it's easier to say, oh, I don't have any cards on me. Let me shoot you my V card. Let me shoot you my virtual. What's your cell number? And boom, you're texting them your information. Now you got their cell phone number and potentially their email address. So it's the card thing is, I literally, it's funny, just cleaning up the home office because I work primarily from home, and I found from literally 7-8 years ago hundreds and hundreds of business cards from all these people I met, and just was like, oh my goodness, I haven't seen so many business cards, and they went right in the garbage. So and that's where most business cards end up. It's like an amazing business model, tons of printing into the garbage. So that's very 1985. Yeah, the color's bone.
Yep, exactly. And you also think about it, you're much better off, right, shooting them let's say a text message or even an email, because now all of a sudden you collect, let's say, an email, and this could be on either side or both sides, it doesn't matter. Now you're automatically keeping your name in front of that person through a CRM platform like ours or Salesforce or whatever you use. But all of a sudden, now that person has to see your, email newsletter or hey, it's a long-term care march or, whatever, and you're just keeping your name out there. So it's a different mindset that you have to start thinking like to be successful in this day and age in any business.
Sure,
okay, so
sure.
my last yeah, I'm sorry.
Just one thing just kind of pops into my head. And I don't mean to jump around, but there was one question you asked earlier about, just kind of advice and in the business, career advice. And I think, this is crucial and something I've learned, and it's really just helped me, double and triple my income, is giving people variety of different options, and from what you guys do at Levinson, and you have access to 50 plus companies, and as much as maybe an agent loves IUL, maybe their client really wants whole life insurance, and it could be the other way around, so I've learned that every client's different, and being able to offer multiple different options through your guys' platform has been a game changer, because just because I love one product, or maybe I love a whole life product, doesn't mean the client wants it, and I don't want to lose the sale. So I'd rather present different options. Every agent should be presenting, at least 2 options, explaining the differences. And now the client's not deciding, do they want to do business or not? They're deciding, do I want option A or B? Not, do I want to work with you? So that's been just tremendously helpful. I know that's kind of off topic, but I think
no, it's okay.
Don't lose
do
the
me
business.
a favor.
People who are listening, just offer options and make them a client, even if it's not what you think is the best thing for the client. If the client wants something, we talked about this the other day, Bill. Client called in off of our website, 79-year-old, wants 10-year term of $1 million. The premium was $2,960 something a month, and that's what he wanted. So do I fight the client and tell him he should get permanent insurance and he should have whole life or a GUL or whatever it is? No, I gave him what he wanted. He's happy. I'm happy. Everybody's happy, and you know what? I can now go back and talk to him about other products, other strategies. So I think more agents lose so many sales because they're just, stuck on what they want to do versus what the client really wants. So, but you were going to ask a question?
Yeah, no. That's a good point. That was over $30,000 of commission through a phone call. Okay, and you're talking, that's someone that's 79 years old, and you never met him face to face. In fact, he was in a different state. Correct. Yeah. So there you go. And
it's like insurance has become a commodity. It went from being a strictly relationship business where I work with you, your kids, the grandkids, and all that. But now it's like going to the store and buying a case of water or rice. It's literally a commodity where people want it. They know what they want. What's the price? Give it to me. Thank you, and move on. So,
yep. No, that's so true. All right, our last question here, and then I want to just wrap up with a couple things. Discipline, punctuality, respect, work ethic, doing the right thing, being prepared are all very, very important to you. And I know this is different for every guest speaker that we have, but my question is, where did this come from? And why are all these things so important to be successful with any career path, especially in the sales environment?
Sure. For me, obviously, not obviously, but, grew up here in South Florida, with great parents, believe it or not. Both my parents retired in their mid to late 40s, so I never saw them actually, work in a career a day of my life. But, just for me, it was my father always telling me, I can either work with my hands or work with my mind, and I decided to go with my mind. And, as far as just always doing the right thing, grew up in a, Christian household, and, just relaying that and relating that to business, I know a lot of agents find themselves in, sticky situations, whether it's financially for themselves or whatever the situation is. But, I found it's never worth sacrificing or jeopardizing your, integrity and your license, to fudge numbers or whatever it is. You always do the right thing and it'll come back, 10 times fold. But, as far as like discipline and punctuality, like I mentioned, for me, was always having that regimented schedule, where I grew up swimming competitively, twice a day, 5 a.m. and 3 p.m., 2.5-hour practices every single day. So, I mean, that's the only place I can, figure out where that all came from. But, once again, I think it's just having a schedule and a routine and, just having that winning mindset going into every single day. And of course, always do what's right for the client, give them the options, let them decide what's best for them, and you'll do, very well in the industry.
Yeah. No. That's spot on. Okay, so I want to do just a couple things here. I want to just switch gears for a minute, and this is totally off the path, and I think it's so important because, me and Emmanuel were having a conversation the other day, and we were just talking about, we just launched this IUL website called IULexperience.com, and it's everything you need to know about Indexed Universal Life. And we were just going back and forth, and I said, tell me when you're talking to a client, how do you spin, that IUL pitch, let's say. And Emmanuel, can you just share with them like how you told me, you said to client A, hey, if you're thinking about retirement, here's a product where you can get, all of your premiums back, plus 5 or 6% interest. If you wanted to just cancel the policy, where else are you going to find that? And can you just explain that real quick?
Yeah, sure. Well, once again, I never lead with a specific product in mind. So if I'm having a conversation with a prospect and we're talking about whether it's life insurance or retirement, I explain, both options in every scenario. What I mean is, traditional whole life policy, of course, and then you've got the, IULs. And so I just explain it as look, you've got whole life on one side, traditional, been around a long time, relatively what you're going to get. It's very conservative. It's got an internal guaranteed rate of return, has the potential to pay dividends every single year. But for all those guarantees and the potential for dividends and all that, good stuff, it's got a structured premium. You got to pay it every single year. There are moments in the future where dividends and cash value could cover the cost of the premium and float the policy for a period of time, or a paid up policy, but it's pretty regimented, not a ton of flexibility. And on the other side, we've got indexed life, where, indexed universal life, where, hey, look, they're not going to guarantee your money to grow at all, maybe 1 or 2% with a minimum floor, but you've got the upside of various stock market indexes like the S&P 500 has more upside potential, but as a result of them not guaranteeing that your cash value is going to grow every single year, you have flexibility with that premium that comes with it. So, I've got a client that was putting in over $100,000 a year. Second year, only put in $80,000. And then in years 3 and 4, put no premiums in, and now he's resuming the premiums again. So that flexibility was important to the client and was important to me, and that's why he ended up going with it. But how I kind of present both options, whether it's whole life or IUL, is, look, when you get to 65 and the house is paid off, the kids are out of college, you don't have any more debt, maybe you're now considering retiring or already retired. At that point, you have 2 different options on whole life and IUL. You can either take the tax-free lump sum, which let's just say it's $500,000, or you could take a potentially tax-free income stream of, say, $50,000 a year for 20 years, which would be $1 million cumulatively. And let the client know, hey, look, you've got a lot of flexibility. You can take it lump sum, you can take it as an income, or you can do a combination of the two. Maybe you want $100,000 lump sum to go buy that boat, and then the rest can be taken as an income stream. So I think for any of the agents that are listening, if they can just take these very complex products and simplify the conversation, because what I just told you, I just go over verbally with the clients. I'm not pulling up illustrations and confusing them and making it so complicated. We're just having a conversation conceptually, getting them to agree that, yeah, that sounds great. I would like something like that. Okay, Mr. Client, no problem. The good news is you don't have to make any decisions today. You don't have to decide on how much you want to do, what type of policy you want to do. The first step is we got to get you approved. We got to get the exam scheduled, the blood, the urine, the health questions, and get the process going. Once you're approved, then we can decide based on your budget, needs, wants, expectations, what type of plan you want to go with and how you want to fund it. So I think just the key is keeping it simple. Go as conceptual as you can, and you'll find more people will move forward, and you can show them the illustrations once they're approved, because the numbers could change drastically. So that'd be my way of presenting the ideas.
Yep. No, love, and with that same spin, you can say, hey, in fact, we're not even going to collect a penny right now, and you're not obligated one bit until you get approved and until you decide, hey, I want to take the policy. And at that time, you collect payment. So there's no obligation whatsoever.
Absolutely. Brian and I have found, just to wrap up here, is that if they do the medical exam, unless they get flat out denied, they move forward with something. I mean, it's it must be close to the 99+% of people that do the medical exam. They're committed at that point.
They have skin in the game.
Want it.
Yep.
Yeah, they want it versus, a lot of agents, they spend an hour doing an application and going through all that stuff, and then the client never does the medical exam. And they wasted all that time and effort, and also complicated the sale, especially if it's someone you're working with over the phone or you don't know that well. You're the first time you're meeting them, you're asking them for their social, their driver's license, their beneficiaries information, versus saying, hey, let's get the exam scheduled. What day and time do you want them to come out? What's the address? I just need your date of birth. Okay, less threatening. Date of birth, that's really not, that sensitive to a lot of people. So it really helps with, moving the process along.
No, that's great. Those are little tips and tricks that agents can walk away with and literally make a new sale this afternoon and slowly change their business for the better. So I love this stuff. Okay, so we're going on an hour now. I really appreciate your time, Emmanuel. You've been awesome. I know our agents appreciate it as well as our audience. And I'm going to wrap up with this. I also want to give lots of credit to Laurel, your wife. She's been great help for you in your business. You talk about her all the time. Your partner, Brian, has been huge, and we also have a great relationship. So I truly appreciate all of you, and especially you taking the time today. I'm also going to mention just this last comment. It's important. One of Emmanuel's comments was how, in the beginning, he worked with agents on split cases, and the agents, barely knew anything, was a waste of time. If you want to learn a little more, let's say if it's about, business policies, key man, maybe a high net worth estate planning, premium finance, IUL, whatever the case is, okay, if you have the client or the prospect that shows interest and you want to learn from Emmanuel and work on the case with him and his team, he's open to that. So just an idea, if that does come up, let me know, and I'll get you guys in touch, and you can work something out that's fair for everyone. But with that,
happy to help.
Thank you, Emmanuel. With that said, thanks again for everyone taking the time. I hope you walked away with some great nuggets of information that will change your business and ultimately your life. Have a great rest of the week, a great month, good selling. Take care, and thanks again.
Thank you for joining us for the Bill Levinson Experience. Please feel free to share this podcast with anyone you think would be interested. You may also visit levinsonandassociates.com and all of Bill Levinson's social media pages for more information.